Hello again, fourth graders. Today we're going to continue with the converting measurement skill. And today we're going to be focusing on converting customary weight. And Emily and I talked about a little bit yesterday in the Zoom. We talked about how much more difficult converting customary measurements is than converting the metric system. So I'm so glad that some of you watched the Brain Pop video to find out the difference on these two different systems. So let's take a look here about converting weight. Now, it's the exact same strategy and the exact same skill that you used yesterday in converting length. The only difference is there are different numbers and different measurements because we're talking about weight instead of about length. So you know things that you weigh. So I'm going to go over here. And I have this on your slide if you need to use it as a reference. When we're talking about weight, we're talking about ounces, pounds, and tons. So ounces are really, really, really light. It's about the weight of a slice of bread. And if you hold a slice of bread, you know that that's really light. A pound is about the weight of a can of vegetables. And a ton is the weight of a walrus. So these are two things that you can test out at home and weighing, but I definitely wouldn't recommend picking up something that's a ton because it obviously weighs a lot. So in order to figure out how to solve these problems, we need to know the conversion chart. So I also have this conversion chart. I cut this out and posted it on a slide as well, so you have it. You can also use the one that I sent to your parents that you can print off. So let's take a look at some of these problems. I'm going to be teaching you a new strategy to use to help you solve these problems. So if you liked the way you solved it yesterday, going from a big unit to a small unit, you know you need to multiply. Going from a small unit to a big unit, you need to divide. Same thing, just different numbers. But in case that was a little bit challenging for you, I'm going to teach you a new strategy to help you solve. You are going to be learning in math for almost the rest of your life, or at least that time in school. You're going to be learning about something called proportions. And in proportions, you are making a part relative to the whole. So kind of like a fraction. When you see a fraction, you see something like 1/2. You have 1 out of 2. You have 1 part of the whole, which is equal to 2. So we're going to be solving customary weight this way, and you can also use this skill in length and all the different types of measurements, but this is going to be a new type for you to try today. So if you're watching this and you decided yesterday was pretty easy for you and you do not want to learn a new method, that's absolutely okay. But in case you want to learn a different way that could help you, please stay and listen. So the important thing we need to know is what I talked about earlier. The most important thing is this chart. We need to know our conversions to help us solve. So let's say that we are working with the problem 8 tons is equal to how many pounds? Okay, well, you could do it the way we talked about yesterday and go from tons to pounds, and you can say, okay, this is a very big unit, and you're going to a small unit, so you need to multiply. Then you look at your conversions, and you say, okay, 1 ton is 2,000 pounds. That means that you are going to be multiplying 8 by 2,000 pounds. If that's a little bit tricky, let's try the proportion way. You know that you have 8 tons, and you're trying to figure out how many pounds. Well, let's use our conversion to help us. I know that 1 ton, there are 2,000 pounds. Okay, so now I've written that out. All I did was take that from the conversion sheet exactly like it is. 1 ton, 2,000 pounds. 1 ton, 2,000 pounds. Now to help me solve this, I need to figure out what I know so far. What I do know is tons. What I don't know is pounds. So I know that I have 8 tons. So what I'm going to do is I want to keep the tons together. I'm going to change this up here or put this over here, 8 tons. Because I want my tons together and I want my pounds together. They should be the same. So just like we did in fractions, remember what you do to the top, you do to the bottom. And we had problems that looked exactly like this a lot in fractions. And what we did was we said, okay, we have 1 here and we got to 8. Well, how did we get there? We multiplied by 8. 1 times 8 is 8. And what I do to the top, I need to do to the bottom. So 2,000 times 8 might seem really challenging, but you guys learned last year and this year that all you have to do is multiply the whole numbers together. 8 times 2 is 16, and add your zeros. 1, 2, 3. And your answer would be 16,000 pounds. So 8 tons is equal to 16,000 pounds. Let's try another one. Let's say I have 3 pounds, and I need to figure out how many ounces there are. Okay, well, I'm going to take out my conversion sheet, and I'm looking for the one that talks about ounces and pounds together. And I see that this one right here talks about ounces and pounds. 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. 1 pound, 16 ounces. Okay? Now let's see what I know. What I don't know is my ounces, so I'm going to leave this blank because I can't match those up together. What I do know is my pounds. I know that there are 3 pounds. Okay, so remember, just like in fractions, we have 1 pound, but we got to 3 pounds. How did we get there? Well, we know that 1 times 3 is 3. So what we do to the top, we do to the bottom. 16 times 3. Okay, let's do that. 16 times 3. 6 times 3 is 18. 3 times 1 is 3. Plus 1 is 4. 48. Now remember, we want to keep these together, so we're talking about ounces. And that is our missing one right there. Now, some of you guys had a really great question yesterday, wanting to know what the half meant. So yesterday you had a problem that talked about 3.5 feet. Well, you know that in 1 foot, there are 12 inches. So if we're talking about a half of a foot, we're talking about 6 inches. Because half of 12 is 6. In a ruler, half of this would be 6 inches. That's our middle point. So if you encounter something like that today, say it talks about 1.5 pounds. Okay, well, I know that 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. So if we're talking about a half of a pound, we're talking about half of 16. Half of 16 is 8. So that's what would represent this half right here. So in order to figure out 1.5, we would add 16 plus 8. I'm going to leave you guys after we try one more problem together. And let's try this one. There are blank pounds and 160 ounces. Okay, how many pounds are in 160 ounces? Let's take a look. I know that I'm going to look at my conversion chart and look at the one that has ounces and pounds together. This one right here. 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. Just like it's here, all I did was take that from my chart right here. All right, let's see what I do know. I do know ounces. What I don't know is pounds, so I'm going to skip over that, but I can write pounds here because we know that pounds have to match. I'm so sorry. Oh, yeah, and we know 160 ounces. Well, how did I get from 16 ounces to 160 ounces? I know that they must have multiplied by 10 because 16 times 1 is 16. Add your 0. So if we multiply the bottom by 10, we need to multiply the top by 10. So 1 times 10 is 10. 10 pounds is equal to 160 ounces. Now, I'm really sorry, I told you that would be the last problem, but in your Go Formative today, you are going to have a type of question where you are comparing two different weights. So I want to show you what that looks like in case you are challenged by those problems. All right, you're going to see something like 10 tons is what greater than, less than, or equal to 10,000 pounds. Now, remember in fractions when I told you that all you had to do was pick out one side to work on so that they're equal? Because right now we're working with tons and pounds. We want to just talk about one. So let's say we're focusing on talking about tons. All we have to do is convert tons. We do not have to worry about this one right now. So in 1 ton, I'm looking for tons and pounds, so I go over here. 1 ton is 2,000 pounds. So I'm going to write that down. 1 ton is 2,000 pounds. Okay, and all we're worrying about is 10 right now. So we know that there are 10 tons. And remember, we want to keep the tons together. So 10 tons would be with the other tons. Now let's look at the next step. How did we get from 1 ton to 10 tons? Well, 1 times 10 is 10. What you do to the top, you do to the bottom. 2 times 1 is 2. And let's see how many zeros we have. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another way you could have done that is you could have done 2 times 10 is 20 and then added your 3 zeros. But either way, we get to this number right here. So the reason I told you you only had to convert one side is now we know both units in pounds. We know that 10 tons is the same thing as 20,000 pounds. So what's greater, 20,000 pounds or 10,000 pounds? I know that 20,000 pounds is greater because it is a bigger number. So when you get those problems, just focus on converting one side so that you can figure out the conversions and make them the same for the units. Good luck today. Please let me know if you need help. This is very difficult. I completely understand. So try out both strategies. See what you like and let me know how I can help. Good luck today.